All right, so now that I got it all set up, God, there's so many things running on this computer. I'll deal with that one later. All right, so let's go ahead and get back. All right, so it wants us to tell me what are the genotypes and phenotypes possible in horses. So again, we're going to make a chart. We'll put our phenotypes over here on the left and put genotypes over here on the right. So the first one is trotter, which is big T. That is dominant. Pacer, we got flaxen, and darker. Trotter can be two things, big T, or big T, little t. It can be homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant. Pacer can only be homozygous recessive because it is a recessive trait. We'll say same goes for flaxen and darker. So on the next sheet, or the next question, is going to ask you, a flaxen horse is mated to one who is homozygous dominant for both traits. What is the phenotype of the offspring? What is their genotype? Now, we're going to go ahead and set up our square. Right. Went ahead and changed the font color and all of this so we know which one is which. All right, so let's go ahead and get the parent's genotype. So a flaxen pacer horse, flaxen are recessive, pacer is recessive too. It means that she has the genotype of FFTT. Okay, no, I don't want it to get lost. Then they are reproduced with something that is homozygous dominant. So obviously that's going to be big F, big T, big T. So we're going to go ahead and throw this into our Punnet square. So we're going to combine each of them because it is a random distribution. So we can either have our first big F and our first little f and our first little t, which is right here. Right. We're going to stay right here, little f. We're going to go to our second little t. So little f, little t. Now we're going to go to our second little f and combine it with our first little t. And do the same thing to our second little t. Obviously, it's going to look a lot different if we have heterozygous. Now we have homozygotic dominance. So we have our first big F and our first big T. We're going to stick with that first big F, but now we're going to combine it with our second big T. So FT. All right, now we're going to move on to the second big F. We're going to combine it with our first big T. So big F, big T. And then finally finish it up right there with our second big F and our second big T, F, T. Whoops. So if we combine them, we end up with the genotype for all of the kids are essentially going to be the same. Big F, big T, little t. So we're taking each of these and we're combining them. So Control C and Control V. They're all going to look the same because they were both homozygous for opposite things. So each of the offspring are going to be a hybrid, but their genotype is different. So their phenotype is going to look like dad over here, but their genotype is going to be different. So their genotype would be big F, big T, little t, which is heterozygous dominant. So these each would be trotters with a dark hair color, but they would be carriers for that recessive trait. So it's asking what is the phenotype of their offspring and what is their genotype. So we've done number one right here together. Now, the second portion of your worksheet is dihybrid punnet practice. This is just essentially a continuation of what you've done right there. I would suggest doing this one first because this has everything set up for you. But yeah, each worksheet is worth 50 points. This is a 100-point total. And I will, hopefully this is done. Converting, please. Yes, looks like it. All right. And I will catch y'all later. Thank you. Stop the share. And